Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, with Season 9 coming to a close in the next couple of weeks here, I thought it'd be a good idea to take a look at a couple champions that can help you climb the fastest for the end of Season 9. So if you're just looking to hit that next rank for the end of season, then these are the 10 champions, 2 for each role I'm going to be going over, that in my opinion, you can pick up right away and start having some immediate success on them. So with that being said, guys, let's get started. So if we start things off here in the top lane, my 2 picks are going to be Heimerdinger and Mordekaiser. So in my opinion, Heimerdinger is the best blind pick top laner right now for the majority of elos. He's a very underrated pick at the moment, but you just have perma pressure with this champion in the laning phase. You're going to win pretty much every single matchup. There's very few matchups that I would say beat Heimerdinger right now. He's just got so many favorable lanes, so you're going to be able to poke the enemy out in the laning phase. If you're going up against a melee top laner, you're going to be shoving them under tower. You're going to be getting tower plates, and he's also a champion that is a lot more forgiving than most other top laners, because if you do end up getting camped, if you do end up getting ganked, if you're pressuring the enemy under tower, if you got them poked very low and you get ganked, chances are you're going to be able to turn that 1v2 and you can actually get a double kill a lot of the time if you're providing pressure in the top lane and if you're bringing the enemy jungler to your lane. So there's a lot of good things that Heimerdinger can provide, and he's also a very simple champion to play as well. There's not too much to the champion's kit, so that makes him an even better champion for you to look to climb fast with. I rate him very highly as well because his ability to take an early Baron after he snowballed the early game is the best for any champion in the game, or it's one of the best. I guess you could argue for Cassiopeia or Bran, but Heimer's ability to take that early Baron with his turrets down and just with one other champion is extremely easy to do. And if you're duo queue, say with your jungler or with your mid laner, if you're just duo queue with somebody, then you can take that early Baron. All you need is 2 members to take an early Baron with Heimerdinger, so you can do that in a lot of your games, and especially in the lower elos, people are not going to be warding Baron at 20 minutes, so you're going to find yourself getting an early Baron like almost every single game when you play this champion. And then for the Mordekaiser pick, not as oppressive in the laning phase as the Heimerdinger, that's for sure, but if you can get going in the early game on Mordekaiser and you can reach your core item build, he's a pretty easy to execute champion in the mid to late game. If you get ahead on the pick as well and the enemy team does have a fed member, it's super easy for you to just isolate that target in a team fight, use your ultimate on them, take them out of the fight, and if you're fed and you can ult the fed member on the enemy team and take them out, then chances are you're going to win like almost every single team fight with Mordekaiser in the mid to late game. His team fight presence is extremely good. His damage output potential from his passive in mid to late game fights, like you can 1v5 fights a lot of the time with Mordekaiser if you are ahead. So I just think he's a great pick, especially for the lower elos. Games are going to last a lot longer, so you're going to be able to reach your insanely good 3 item spike almost every single game on the pick. So if we take a look at my 2 jungle picks now, they are going to be Shaco and Warwick. So for Shaco, he did just get buffed pretty heavily in the past few patches here. I think it was 2 patches ago now. He's a pick that can provide a lot of gank potential in the early game. You have a faster clear now in the early game with Shaco. You do have the AoE damage coming out of your boxes, so it allows you to clear the jungle a little bit faster. It allows you to be on the map, get that first gank off a lot earlier. You can no longer go for that super early gank down bot lane, but you can still go for a relatively early gank down bot lane. At level 3, what you can do is you can do red, you can do your Raptors and Krugs, gank bot lane. If you get a double kill down there, then the game is pretty much won at that point. You just rinse and repeat, you keep going bot lane, keep killing them over and over again, and if you can do that, then you can just snowball games extremely hard on Shaco. Like the Heimer pick, both the Shaco and the Warwick have very good objective taking potential. You can take a very early dragon on the Warwick, on the Shaco, especially on the Warwick there. If it's an early Infernal Drake, then you can just look to solo that out as soon as it spawns and get your team an early advantage. Once you hit level 6 on both these champions, especially on the Shaco, it's very easy for you to look to solo out that dragon, and then once the Baron does spawn with the Shaco ultimate there, you have that which you can use to tank up the Baron. So it's just very easy for these champions that if they do get a lead in the early game, there's a lot of different options you have on them to look to extend that lead. So moving on to my two mid lane picks now, they're going to be Malzahar and Fizz, and one thing both these champions have in common is that they have very good pick tools in their kit. Malzahar ultimate and Fizz ultimate are two of the best pick tools in the game, and I think that for you to be able to climb quickly in solo queue, playing a champion that does have a good pick potential ability in their kit is very vital. Whenever these two abilities are up, you pretty much guarantee yourself a free kill, or you should have a free kill whenever these two abilities are up. With the Fizz ultimate there, you look to all in at level 6. The enemy is going to have to burn flash pretty much every single time, and if you get your jungler, if you play around your jungler, get him to gank for you at level 6, it's very easy pickings, like especially when you're playing Malzahar. Get your jungler to come mid, you press R on them, it's gonna be a free kill every single time. And the fact that if you do get a lead on these champions as well and your team gets ahead, if you just control objectives in the mid to late game, the enemy cannot face check into you. If they do, you're just gonna be able to press R on them, you get free kills, which will lead to objectives, and after you get Baron, you're just gonna pretty much win the game straight out after that. These picks are also both a lot more forgiving than most other mid lane champions, and what I mean by that is you can make more mistakes on these two picks and you're not going to get punished as hard as your average mid lane pick. So for example there with the Malzahar passive, if your positioning isn't perfect in a mid to late game fight, you're not going to get punished as hard as say if you're playing someone like a Syndra or a Vel'Koz or a Xerath, because if the enemy team has a Malphite on their team, or if they have a Nautilus or a Blitzcrank, if you're positioning a little bit too far up and you're playing someone like Syndra, then you're just gonna die pretty much every fight from the Malphite ultimate. But if you're playing Malzahar, you got your passive up there, then you can play a little bit forward and you're not gonna get punished as hard if the Malphite does look to ult you. Same thing for Fizz there. If you go in during a team fight, if you try to get a pick on the opponent with your ultimate, you go in with your Q and you notice the fight is bad, or if they flash away and you need to get out of there, then you can just use your E, back out, reset the fight. Your ultimate is a pretty short cooldown with Fizz in the mid to late game, so you can wait for that to come back up and then you could just rinse and repeat. So moving down to the bot lane now, my two picks for AD carry are going to be Ashe and Misfortune. So both these two champions also have something in common, and that is they have a clear win condition, a clear power spike in their level 6 all-ins. Once you hit 6 with Ashe and Misfortune, you should be looking to play aggressive, you should be looking to pull the trigger, especially if you are playing with an aggressive support. If you're playing with somebody like a Nautilus, a Zyra, Leona, Blitzcrank, there's just so many good aggro supports being played right now in the current meta. So if you're playing with any of those, get on the same page as them, let them know before you hit the level 6 that you want to look to go for it all in there, because if you just Ashe arrow, you hit that at level 6, the Nautilus follows up with his ultimate, his hook, you're going to be getting yourself some very free kills, and you should be getting a double kill almost every single game with these two AD carries if you are playing with an aggressive support. Another really big thing I like about these two AD carries is that they can always be useful no matter the game and no matter how far you fall behind on them. So if you're playing Ashe, you die a few times in the laning phase, it's not as punishing as if you're playing somebody like a Vayne, for example, because if you fall behind on Vayne, the only thing you provide for your team is damage. The only thing you can do is deal damage in mid to late game fights. So if you fall behind, you're pretty useless for the most part. Whereas if you're playing Ashe, you still have your hawk shot, you still have your arrow, you got utility in her kit. So if you fall behind, you can still look for that good arrow play, you can still look for that good pick, and even if you are not dealing any damage in fights at all, that one pick from a good arrow could be the reason to why you end up winning a mid to late game fight. Same thing goes for Misfortune. Even if you only have one item in the mid game, and even if you're miles behind the enemy AD carry, if one of your teammates gets a good CC ability off when the enemies are grouped up and you can just get a fully channeled ultimate off on the enemy team, it doesn't matter if you only have one item. If you get a fully channeled ultimate off, it's still going to deal a ton of damage. So I really like that you can still be useful on these two picks even if you're not having one of your best games. And then to round things out here down in the support role, it's going to be Nautilus and Zyra. So both these two champions have very simple, pretty easy to execute CC abilities in their kit, and they have the potential to snowball extremely hard in the early to mid game. With the Nautilus there, level 2 all in, pretty simple to execute. You try to get that level 2 before the opponents, look to go for an all in, hit your hook on the opponent, or you just walk up, proc your passive with your auto, then hook after that, and you should be able to provide your team a lot of pressure in the early game and you should be able to get a lot of early kills with this champion in the laning phase. Level 6 with both these two champions gets even more insane. You pretty much you should be getting free kills at level 6 with these two champions, or you're playing them wrong, to be honest. You got the Nautilus point and click ultimate there, you got the Zyra ultimate, both very good tools that you can just use to, if you hit a Zyra root, follow up with her ultimate. If you hit a Nautilus hook, follow up with your ultimate, or you can even just point and click the Nautilus ultimate on the enemy bot lane and just follow up with your hook. So there's just so many tools these champions have to look to make plays, to look to make engages, and you can carry on these supports a lot harder than you can on other support picks. One thing I really like about these two picks as well is that you're a lot less reliant on your AD carry being a competent player in order for you to win lane and succeed with these picks. With the Nautilus there, if you hit a hook in the laning phase, then you can almost just single out the enemy AD carry or the enemy support by yourself and burst them out by yourself. Your AD carry might only need to follow up with like 1 or 2 autos, which they should be able to do, and you're gonna find yourself getting kills in the laning phase. Same thing goes for the Zyra there, especially once you reach the mid to late game. You're gonna be the carry from the bot lane. Like your AD carry, even if they're behind, even if they don't know what they're doing, you're gonna be able to provide your team with a ton of damage with Zyra, a ton of utility, a lot of CC in mid to late game fights. So it just allows for yourself to carry games even if you don't have the best of AD carries. Alright, so that's going to be all for the video, guys. Hopefully this does give you a pretty good idea of what you should be looking to play for the end of season. If your main goal is to just get to that next rank, climb the fastest here in these last couple of weeks, then these are going to be the 2 champions for every single role that I would be looking to pick up and prioritize. Just spam them for the end of season 9. So with that being said, guys, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.